Welcome to a special edition of Business Mentorship, Keepin It Real, where we introduce you to the person behind the logo, featuring corporate leaders who have shared their story in this year's digital magazine, Celebrating Great Ideas. Our guest joins us from Hamilton, Ontario. Kennish is a third-generation franchisee. Tim Hortons is a beloved coffee brand originating in Canada, known for its premium coffee, fresh donuts, and rich heritage. Kara and her team proudly uphold its traditions while focusing on relationships within the community. She fosters an empowered environment for her team while building connections that have lasting impact. Kara joins us today to share her experience, not only as a franchisee, but business leader. She's going to share a few ideas on how we too may impact our communities through local partnerships, fundraising efforts, and grassroots initiatives. And it's my pleasure to welcome and introduce everyone to Kara.
Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here today. Very thrilled. I appreciate this opportunity to share my story and share the platform that I've been building for now 5 generations in my family, so 3 generations of ownership as well.
Wow. Tell us a little bit about how you became an owner, because I mean, 3 generations is a long time to be dedicated to a brand. So how did that transition happen?
Yeah, so my grandparents and my parents, actually, they're considered founders in this business. And it's really fascinating to say that, or I find it really interesting to say that, because I would never think of my parents as founders of this business, but they've been involved for so long as well. Now, I got involved. I can remember being 4 years old and sitting in kindergarten class. And I know this is such a weird story, but I don't have many memories from being 4 years old and being in kindergarten. But it was like a grandparents' day or something like that. And my grandfather, who owned the second Tim Hortons ever, which is insane. He came and he was speaking to my class, and he was talking about how he was a police officer. He knew, Ron Joyce and Tim Hortons through that kind of that lens in that world, and how he chose to give up the life of being a police officer for coffee and donuts. and I remember sitting there and just like, you sit cross-legged. I was in the front row, and knowing that that was what I was always going to do.
Really?
So, yeah, always. So every move that I made through my youth, through my my schooling, was always with the intention of being an entrepreneur, building a brand, and also as an adult, finding my way to make my name in a family legacy as well.
How does that happen? Because we all know that being a franchisee means you represent the organization that you've bought into. So you've got a family legacy there with Tim Hortons, clearly. And we all know, especially if you're Canadian, this brand has like amazing recognition and community involvement. So how do you find that you were able to build an entrepreneurial statement within that franchise environment?
Great question. So obviously, the legacy piece is brilliant and beautiful, but it was something that I had to work really, really hard for. You can't just become a Tim Hortons franchisee because your family was involved, right? You had to prove your way. You had to hit certain milestones. I know that I worked for corporate when I was 19, 20 years old, traveling around the country doing being part of the operations.
Sure.
Running the restaurants and holding them to a very, very high standard as well. And then on, the other side of it was, my parents, my grandparents were considered those founders. My parents were considered founders. So I really wanted to figure out a way to make myself known in the community as Cara, as opposed to, just another generation in that brand. So, so anyways, I found these ways, and I really felt that it was very important for me to show up authentically, to show up and be able to make the impact that I wanted to. So Tim Hortons has given me this beautiful platform. My parents, my family gave me this beautiful platform to use. So how did I want to take that, and how did I want to utilize that to make an impact in my community? And that was kind of how I differentiated myself from everyone else, right? And how I made the name for myself as well. I think that when you're a part of a franchise, it's really easy to become part of the mass. How do you say it? Kind of like the team, right?
Sure.
Franchising is a team.
Sure.
It's a team environment. So, and you're kind of under one massive umbrella. So how did I become Cara in Tim Hortons, right?
Exactly.
And it was really, I had to sit there, and I've done many deep dives, and I've had many coaches, and which I credit so much having a coach to really help you kind of narrow down who you want to be and how you want to become that person. But I found that I really wanted to show up authentically, and making an impact in my community was really, really important for me. I felt that, everything else was already built. So what could I do and change that was different? So, I have all of these partnerships between, different philanthropic organizations. Some of them actually have taken me up a couple of mountains, some really big ones, Mount Everest, and we just recently got back from the Inca Trail as well. So I can dive into that later. But
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I don't know. How did I get here? I think it really comes down to it was finding that independent voice among an umbrella, and it was just again showing up how I wanted to, and making the waves that I wanted to make with a platform that was as beautiful as Tim Hortons.
So that's a really important point, because being an individual within the brand is part of being an entrepreneur. And the connections that you've made in the community, and this philanthropic sort of way in which the brand also connects with the community, is probably a wonderful way to put your own stamp on it, your personal stamp, right?
Right, absolutely.
And so tell us about, okay, you've mentioned, you opened Pandora's box now. You mentioned the, climbing mountains in Everest, and now coming back recently from another amazing opportunity, and they were fundraising.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, absolutely.
So tell us about that.
Okay, so Tim Hortons, we have our own charity, which is the Tim Hortons Foundation Camp specifically. Now, the purpose around that is developing leadership and opportunities for youth to come from disadvantaged circumstances. So it's a children's charity, obviously. And something that I've been involved with, obviously growing up with the brand, it was instilled in me from such a really early age on how to give back, specifically with this foundation. And I can remember being, 15 years old, and we have 6 camps around the country. And the one local to me, which is just in St. George, the land was donated by this amazing company or couple, sorry, not. And but it was underdeveloped, right? So I was there with my dad. We were the first ones. We were there planting trees and hanging up bird feeders to make it this beautiful. It's called Onondaga Farm. So this beautiful camp. But anyways, it was that piece of always being involved and
are they opportunities to grow your leadership skills? Because I mean, going to the place has got to be an experience in itself.
Yeah. Yeah. So they were, oh my gosh, they were massive growth opportunities, emotionally, mentally, physically. I know that, so a couple of years ago, there was 15 of us who were across Canada, all franchisees or family of franchisees. And our first trek that I was part of was Mount Everest. So we did Mount Everest Base Camp and Kalabatar, so which brought us up to about 19,000 feet. This trek was absolutely grueling. There were days where all you can focus on is putting one foot in front of the other. There's no oxygen. I couldn't breathe. It was like this intense journey. And when I say that, it's an opportunity to really hash out any ideas that you have, any frustrations, anything that you really battled with internally, because you're trekking for, I think our longest day was maybe 14 hours, and it's freezing cold, and it's, every
you in the mountain.
me and the mountain, literally, absolutely, because you're not seeing anybody. And when you're above the tree line, it's just, or sorry, the cloud line, the tree line, it's just rock and dust, basically, and the elements as well. But anyways, it was a group of passionate owners who wanted to find a way to marry um, their passion for adventure with their passion for the foundation as well.
Right.
So we came up with these adventures to go on, which obviously was Mount Everest a couple of years ago. And then I just recently got back from the Inca Trail, like I said, in Peru. Both of them were opportunities to raise money for the foundation. So Everest being Everest, I think we raised almost 600,000. Mind you, we had a lot of time though, because it was we were supposed to leave in April of 2020. The world shut down.
Sure.
So we ended up going in 2023. So it took a few years, but we were able to raise money all that time. And then our most recent trip was about 275,000 and climbing still. So we're heading up to almost 300.
Wow.
But yeah, it's it's finding these. So anyways, I guess to bring it back to a full circle story, we were looking at ways that we can kind of marry passions. And how do you do that? So it's finding these like-minded individuals that love adventure, love fundraising, and want to support an organization that means so much to us. And this is kind of what we came up with. But these journeys, the team building, the leadership, I always say that because you're surrounded by like-minded people,
Sure.
and we're all leaders in our communities, we
Sure.
are there to support and challenge and push ourselves, or push each other, ourselves as well, but each other,
Sure.
to reach these summits, both literally and metaphorically. And I think it's a really phenomenal way to challenge the person you are, and to become the person that you want to be.
Yeah. Now, how do you, in a franchise environment, of course, I'm sure our viewing and listening audience are connecting with your story and saying, well, yeah, but you still have to sell donuts and coffee, and you still, right? And you still have to connect with your community and the product that you're providing. How do the connections that you make with it, because I'm sure there's regulars, right? There's regulars that come in every day. There's people that visit your community that come into the store because of the name. There's probably a Tim Hortons where they live. And if they're on holidays, they're coming in because they're familiar. They know what the expectation is going to be, because there's some similarities with that familiarity and being part of a franchise. How do you make the connection with those people, community people who come in on a daily basis and want to share their stories?
Ooh, I love this. So I am a very hands-on owner. I think that we're all allowed to show up in community in whatever ways we want to, but I think it's really important, and especially because my baby, my location that that I'm really involved with is in a small community. So we have the local hockey rink, we have the local organizations, and the small town. It's also my hometown, so I think that makes a bit of a difference.
Sure.
There's a lot of community there, but I love nothing more than seeing those regulars. I call them. I have a couple of groups specifically. I'll talk about this one. I call them just my old man crew. They're all retired. They're anywhere between 70 and I think 93, and they show up every week. And when I walk into the store, they seem like, if they see me first, they always yell over. But I love nothing more than grabbing a coffee and sitting down with them and hearing their stories.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's one really, I think, amazing way to just be a face of the restaurant or the brand that you're a part of, right?
Sure.
It's showing up and being that face for it. But then outside of that, it's, the hockey arena. In Tim Hortons, we have our Timbit sports. So I'm involved with the children's sports, whether it's soccer or
Sure.
hockey as well. And it's showing up, and it's, we hand out medals for their, oh my gosh, it's the final celebration day where they have like their tournaments. And anyways, we hand out medals. We're a part of it in that sense. We have our a parade, Santa Claus parade. So, we always support that and try to do, hot chocolate or whatever it is that we can. But it's having these conversations and just finding out what is happening. I find that I often will reach out to people so that I can be involved because I want to support and I want to see
Sure.
everybody successful. So.
Right. As a franchisee, for those who are listening, what would you look for if someone came to you and said, Kara, I'm thinking that I would like to get into a business and I like the model of having a brand there to support me as a business owner. And they're going to ask you for advice. What would I look for? Are there certain things that you would look for if you were looking to purchase a franchise?
Yes, I actually love this question so much. So I think that it's understanding your values first and foremost, understanding your values and how you want to show up in the world.
Right.
And what is it that you want to do with your business? If you want to make money, I mean, and that's your primary goal, and you're going to look at an organization that is pretty, whether it's hands-on or hands-off, but involved in that sense. So what matters a lot to me is, again, I really want that community impact. I want people that align with my values, how I want to show up with my team,
Right.
so my staff, and making sure that any company that I kind of match with shares those same values. I think that, that would be my number one recommendation. Are you passionate about the product that they sell, that they make? Are you able to sell that? Because if you don't care about it, then it's not worth it, right?
Work.
You're not gonna be successful, because if you don't believe in the brand, then your team isn't going to believe, and then your guest isn't going to believe, or your customer's not going to believe either. So yeah, so it's very much finding a passion, B, how you want to show up. So finding an organization that kind of works with how you want to give back. If you want to be involved with the community, do you have the capacity to do that as well? Do you have a product or a service that you can offer out? And then in terms of, are they open to building a team and developing where, as a business owner, you decide how hands-on do you want to be? Are you required to be in there every single day? Are you to step back and build a team that makes sense for you? And then growth as well. Some people are very content with one location, and then others really want to build and evolve. I know personally, I'm at a position where I'm really looking forward to using my creative side and building and developing something really new, actually. So I can't dive into it, but I'll drop a little hint that I am working on building something very new, and it's aligned with everything that I do.
And, I think that's really important advice, because to your point, if you don't have an alignment with the brand, you're not going to be successful, because ultimately, if you're going to be there day in and day out, whether it's 40 hours a week or 60 hours a week, or however many hours you choose to be involved with that organization, if there's no alignment with the brand and the vision and the long-term success, it's not going to go anywhere.
No, and I believe that wholeheartedly, because the brand, and I think to be very transparent and honest, I think you're also allowed to outgrow a brand as well.
For sure. For sure.
So I think that I am forever thankful for the opportunities that I've had and this legacy piece that I do have.
Sure.
I have recently announced, actually, that I will be leaving this brand in order to try something new. So very excited. New piece is still on the DL, but I think that it's really important because, like I said, to show up authentically and to be aligned, your values, everything to be very aligned. Like I said, I think it's also, we grow and evolve as humans, as people.
For sure.
So I think, something I was always taught was just that you pick this career and you're with it for the rest of your life.
Right.
And it took actually a really, I wish I could remember who said it to me, but it was like these words of advice were, for me, for the legacy piece. And I'm sorry, I know I'm going on a little tangent, but, I was really afraid of losing my family's legacy, like letting it go. I'm the last one standing. And but somebody said the legacy isn't necessarily the brand that you represent. It's the legacy of entrepreneurship, how you show up in the world, and how we make that impact. And honestly, that made me feel so much better about the decisions that I've been making. And yeah, has really kind of ignited more of that fuel to go forward.
But one of the things that we do in our guest blog is we ask folks to share 3 words of advice. And I think what's important with some of the things that you've shared with us today, and thank you for giving us the sort of the exclusive on something happening in the near future. What would you say as 3 words of advice for those who have joined us on our listening podcast today?
Ooh, okay, so I think my advice would definitely be to lead boldly, connect deeply, and impact fearlessly.
Oh, that's a really wonderful way to sort of wrap up not only the brand that you represent, but the person that you've become. And sort of give us a little bit of a teaser into where you may be going in the future. So thank you so much for joining us, giving us a really great, authentic view of franchising and giving our viewing and listening audience a little bit of the behind the scenes into some of the things that they might be looking for if they're thinking of moving in that direction. So thank you for joining us.
Oh, no, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate the Keepin It Real space.
To our viewing and listening audience who joined us today for this special edition of Keeping It Real, I'd like to thank you for giving us an opportunity to introduce the person behind the logo. If you'd like to connect with our guest, you're going to find Kara's contact information in the description portion below. I'm Trish Tonai, author, artist, and the founder and host for the series. And we invite you to share your business story by just visiting our website, shareyourstories.online, and subscribing to our channel, Business Mentorship, Keeping It Real. Kara and I would like to thank you for tuning in, and we look forward to meeting next time when we share another great idea.